Well, Elden Ring's been out for a little while now, and if you've been playing it like me, you probably noticed all the status icons underneath the health bar, and you probably don't know what 50 to 75% of them mean. So, I'm doing a tier list. I'm ranking all these many icons and explaining them. Fextra Life, I know a lot of people don't like Fextra Life, but they have compiled a page with all of these icons explaining what they mean and what items or weapons trigger them. So I'm now regurgitating that in video form because for some people that's more convenient. And so a couple of broad stroke things to go over. A lot of these icons have backgrounds, squares, or diamonds. The square ones are sort of a permanent buff or debuff, and then the diamonds are temporary. Square buffs, it seems, can stack. Diamonds cannot. And as far as the tier list itself, you'll probably notice a little question mark section down at the bottom. That's because there are some icons. First of all, there are some that they just don't know anything about it, what it does or what it's tied to. But then there are some that the effects are known, but we don't know what triggers it. So I'll be throwing those into that bottom section down there. So let's just get frickin' started. So right off the bat, we got sort of bar boosts. We got vigor. This increases your max vigor and your max HP. It's kind of obvious and it's kind of not. Oopsie. Sorry about that. It's kind of obvious and it's kind of not because it's just a red square. Your red is up, which you could make the connection. Red is health. I'm gonna throw it in C there. We have temporary variant, of course. Most of these are gonna have a temporary variant. I'm gonna leave those out because there are like 150 of these. I think I have like 120 something. So we're just gonna leave the temporary ones out, unless they go in the question mark category. We also have mind increase, mind / FP. So that's gonna go in the same category as well as the stamina / endurance boost situation. However, the temporary mind boost, we don't know what causes that, so we're going to throw that in the question mark category. If you know, if you've seen this icon with the diamond behind it, leave a comment maybe, or put it on the Fextra Life wiki. I don't know if anybody can edit that, or you can just let Fextra Life know. I don't know. Let's see, moving on. We got slowly regenerating HP. That one's probably going to be a D because what is that? Is it like a gem vaguely in the shape of an eye? I don't know what I'm supposed to take from that. Pretty confusing. And it's tied to like one item. The temporary version has more items that are tied to it. We got the other variant of that is slow FP regen. That one actually would go down here. We don't know what causes that. So, again, if you know, tell somebody, anyone. What is next? I guess I'll throw the temporary one in there since I didn't get to rank the other one. Well, I mean, it would just go in D anyway. Never mind. Let's see. Up next, we got the little green penis. That is for stamina recovery speed. It's a turtleneck. I would say probably in with these because it's green, so you could tie it with stamina, but it's not super clear. After that, we have boosting your Crimson Flask. You know, how much HP you get when you drink. That was pretty good. It's useful information, and you can mostly tell what the icon is trying to tell you. The only issue is there's not a whole lot of red in it, so you could mix it up with the blue one, which, you know, again, should be obvious. It does the blue variant of this. So yeah, the only issue is they don't look that different from each other. Otherwise, it's a pretty good icon. Moving on, we got, yes. Boom, we got an A. This temporarily prevents tear flask use overall. And it's got both of the flasks in there. You can see what's going on. Pretty clear, pretty good to know. Next up, we got critical hits restoring HP and FP. Now, these are both tied to a specific talisman, I think it is. It's either a talisman or a weapon, which is shaped exactly like that. So, I guess that's an A, because, I mean, you got to throw on the talisman, and it's a pretty unique shape, so you probably remember it. I'd say it communicates pretty effectively. And then we have the temporary variant of both. Those are both unknown. What they are used on, if anything, I'm assuming a lot of this is sort of data mine stuff from the PC version of the game. Next one we have is this guy. Boom, that's another A. I mean, you can tell just by looking at it, that's going to make you do more damage, essentially. So this can either increase your attack power or your strength or your dexterity. Although for just a straight attack power increase, the connection has not been made there yet. That one's a mystery. There's also a temporary variant, obviously. Then we have the opposite of this, lowering your physical damage. I just have to find it. There it is. Yeah, also A tier. You get the idea. You see where that comes from. Make sure I haven't missed any mystery ones. Nope. Okay. Next one is spells. Increasing spell attack power. So that one, not as obvious as a sword, you know? It's just a couple of pages. So, you know, that could indicate you could read better or something. But yeah, this will either increase spell attack power or like a specific kind of spell, like a certain school of magic, or it can increase your intelligence, or it can mean your faith is increased. So sort of a widespread, and it's not the clearest. I'm going to throw that in like C. And there's a temporary variant, of course. And then we got another very similar looking one. In fact, I have to make sure I didn't just do the wrong one. Oh, okay. Yeah. So this one has the drip. Very, very similar images there. And this is reducing FP cost. Ooh, that's pretty tough to read right there. That's not a sight read, I would say. Then we have temporary prevention of spell use. If I can find it. Boom. That one's actually a mystery. Don't know what causes that, if anything. Okay, next one. We got, where is it? There it is. Boom. Just like the sword, pretty clear what this does, although there is a wide range. There are enough icons in the game that it's like, okay, yeah, some consolidation actually makes sense. So this either increases physical damage negation, or magic, or fire, or lightning, or holy, or non-physical, or all damage. Although that last one is a mystery. Yeah, it's some armor, up arrow, you're going to take less damage. So even though it may not be super clear just by looking at that, what kind of damage you're negating, it gets the idea across. And there's the temporary version, obviously. And then we have reducing physical damage negation too many of these to look through. That would go in A tier, although we don't know what causes that. We only know the temporary version. Uh, one of which being the Elder Dragon Grail's cry, whatever you want to call it. And then after that, we've got a couple of flappy leaves. So this is resistance, or various forms of resistance. Increasing resistances, immunity, robustness, focus, all three, or increasing vitality, interestingly. Little all over the place. I guess you could kind of work out what's going on there based on the item you need. Like, there's a consumable item that kind of looks like that, if I'm remembering correctly. The cured meat. That's right. That's what that's supposed to be. So, yeah. C. I'm going to give that one a C. And we have the temporary version. Oh, one of my faves. Where is it? Where's my baby boy? Okay. So this is mostly the arsenal charm. Basically, this icon indicates increased equip load. And this one was only an A because I feel like most of the time you're getting this one from the arsenal charm, which looks exactly like that. So pretty quickly you associate this with a higher equip load. And also it's a very useful buff to have. Actually, I guess it's not insanely useful. Not like, Dark Souls 1 useful, but still. It's something I like to have under my health bar. But moving on, we have increased poise, which I'm probably going to throw that in B because it's somewhat obvious what that indicates, but not the most obvious. There's also not a lot of things that increase your poise, interestingly. It's like 3 items from what I can see. Next up, we have gold. Well, what results from the gold pickled foul foot? Well, actually, it would be the temporary version, but this is increased runes obtained, which this is actually a little confusing. Maybe it's just me, but I often get confused between the effects of the gold and the silver pickled foul foot. So given that this is my tier list, I'm going to put it in B because I keep mixing those two up. Obviously, after that, we're going to have the silver one. Boom, going right next to it. That increases your item discovery and or increases arcane. Or I should say it is a result of those things. So there you go. And then there's a temporary variant, of course. Next, we've got an increase in the attack power of skills. I mean, there is a sword on there. Oopsie. There is a sword on there, so you can tell that there's, some attack power being boosted, but this situation here doesn't really tell me that it's skills. Yeah, not immediately apparent. I will put the temporary variant, wherever it is, into the mystery section, because it's a mystery. Where is it, actually? Here it is. There we go. Next, we got lowering the FP cost of skills. And again, this kind of suffers the same issue. First of all, the teardrop for lowering FP costs, I mean, I don't know what the answer is, but that doesn't immediately communicate that to me. So I'm just going to throw that in C. And The temporary variant of that is also going... Oh, strike that. That one's known. Not going to throw that in the mystery pile. Okay. This is interesting. On the Fextra Life page for these icons, the next two are actually mixed up. Because this one indicates the effects of Radagon's Scar Seal and or Sore Seal. I went into the game, double checked this for myself. The darker red one, that's Radagon, and that is, this icon does appear when you use those. It's not mixed up in the game, it's just on the Fextra Life page. So yeah, this indicates that you're using one of those things, and it increases your a specific set of attributes like attack, like strength, dexterity, vigor, that kind of stuff. And then the America variant is sort of more on the magical side of mind, faith, intelligence, that kind of thing. So yeah, those are mixed up on the Fextra Life page. These I'd put those in A because they're tied to two very specific items respectively, and they look exactly like them. So pretty clear indication, pretty useful. Moving on, we've got all the various weapon talismans, such as the dagger talisman icon, which is this one. So this one enhances critical hits, and the icon is not all that useful for most of these. I mean, I guess the dagger is decent because you can associate daggers with critical hits if you've been playing a lot of FromSoft games. So I'll keep that in C. Then we've got... what else? The curved sword talisman. That one enhances guard counters. Yeah, that one's not terribly clear. I'm going to throw that one in D. We've got Twin Blade. Enhances the final hit of chain attacks. Yeah, not a terribly great icon. We've got the Axe Talisman one. Enhances charge attacks. Where's that? Where's my boy? There we go. Yeah, again, just not terribly indicative of that skill boost. We've got... well, there is a temporary icon for the Twin Blade one, which is in the mystery pile. We've got the Hammer Talisman one. What does that do? Enhances stamina, reducing attacks against blockers. Yeah, again, mace, I mean, it's the heavier of all these weapons, but still not super obvious to me. We've got the spear one right here. Now that one, I think that'll go in here as well, because that's reminiscent of another, of like a ring from Dark Souls, which enhances counterattacks unique to thrusting weapons. Now, a lingering question, which I have not tested myself, is whether this works on arrows. Because I know in the original Dark Souls, the ring that was similar to this did work on arrows, like for bows and arrows. Don't know if that's the case for this game. I don't think it was for Dark Souls 3, for what it's worth. So if anybody wants to test that out, that almost feels like a Limit Breakers video. Anyhow, there's also a temp variant for that in the mystery pile. We then have the Lance Talisman, which enhances horseback attacks. That one does have a horse in it. So, you know what? I'm going to throw that in B. That's a fairly clear one there. What else? Yes, the Claw Talisman, which enhances jump attacks. Again, not terribly clear on that one. There's a temporary one, mystery pile. We've got the guard one. That's probably an A. Honestly, that's probably an A. It's fairly clear what's going on there. it enhances your guard ability with shields. There you go. Okay, so I think that's all of those. Well, I guess the Arrow Sting Talisman technically falls under the same category, so we're still going through it. I have to find it, though. Well, this is embarrassing. I seem to have forgotten to include that one. But there's one. I'll just put it in post here. We've got increases in attack power of arrows and bolts. That's the sort of silver one. So I guess that's, where is that? It's probably on the screen already. So I'm thinking it's B. You can kind of tell that those are bolts or arrows. And then there's another one, which is an increase in the effective range, which is sort of a bronze color. I guess those are going to be right next to each other in the B row there. Boy, I hope I haven't called them columns. I feel like I've called them columns a few times now. Moving on, we got grants 2 additional memory slots, which is from the Moon of Noxtella. That's an item which looks exactly like that. So, again, anything that looks exactly like the 1 or 2 items that it correlates to, that's probably going to go in A. It's pretty cut and dry. Okay, we got another one that corresponds to extended spell effect duration. Where is he at? There we go. That one's probably going to go in D. Because I don't even know what the fuck that's supposed to be. Then again, that correlates to the Old Lord's Talisman, which does in fact look just like that. So, whoopsies. My apologies. So actually, in that case, that's an A. Solid A. I'm trying to think if there's like some other one that is the same, but I just haven't encountered it before. I think I'm in the clear there. Anyway, the next one is decreasing spell casting time, which is a result of Radagon's icon. Same situation. Direct correlation, you can tell what it is. And it's a pretty useful thing to have, I would guess. Some spells take a while to cast. Although, if I recall correctly, that doesn't affect the faith incantation you get from Miscellaneous, the one that takes forever to cast. At least according to the Radagon's icon page on the Fextra Life Wiki, for what that's worth. Moving on, we have this one, which enhances roars and breath attacks. I put this in A only because, well, A, it correlates to the Roar Medallion, and I feel like everybody has this and knows what it does because it's one of the first icons, one of the first talismans that most people get. So, put it in A. Actually, I'll put it in B, because I don't think it's particularly useful. Well, for certain situations it is, but I have never felt compelled to use it. Okay, this one is for increased power of throwing pot items. That's fairly clear. I mean, it may, apparently, it looks like it correlates to a talisman or something. So it gets in there just for that, but also even if it didn't, little jar, seems fairly obvious. Next, we got increased potency of perfume items. Again, that looks just like, all of the perfume-related items. You can tell right away, boom, with the little up arrow, increased potency or power or whatever of perfume items. Next, raised attack power with lower equipment load. So this one, not terribly obvious, I would say. Yeah. I don't even know what is pictured there. Well, let's look at the Blue Dancer charm. Looks exactly like that. Well, in that case, it's an A. There you go. I'm just not familiar with the requisite item. Next up, we have increased specific elemental attack, whoopsie, at the cost of taking more damage, which is this one. Here we go. So this mostly is going to be scorpion charms of various kinds, which look exactly like this. So boom, that's going in A. We have a lot more A's than I anticipated, quite honestly. But a lot of these are pretty situational. Like you could go a whole game without using quite a few of these. Mostly like these ones, I would say. Anyway, moving on, we got reduced damage taken from critical hits. I'm going to go ahead and assume that that correlates to an item. Boom. I don't know why it scrolled up there. Yeah. I'm going to guess that looks just like the correlating item. So, A tier. Enhanced rolling or adding damage to rolling. So this is a little clunky putting those two together. But again, there's so many icons, it's not really a terrible thing to do. But you can see that there's some rolling going on. Honestly, I'm going to put that one in the A tier. And there's a temporary version of that. Not a mystery. We got reduced damage and impact of headshots. And again, I think that's going to correlate to an item. Let's see. What is that? What am I looking at? I'm looking at a little brown knot guy. Here we go. There it is. So I guess it's going in the A tier. It also comes with the pumpkin helm. So it could be a little mysterious in that context. We'll throw it in B. It's also just a messy fucking icon. If that didn't correlate to an item, yeah, I don't know if I'd be able to identify that as anything. We also got a temporary variant in the mystery pile. Moving on, got raised attack power of successive attacks. Looks like a little golden shovel. What is this, Twin Peaks Season 3? Anyway. Again, I'm going to guess that correlates to an item. Yep. So that'll go in A, I'd say. God damn it, I keep scrolling. All right. We got a temporary one. Restored HP with successive attacks. I should be able to find shit a little easier, and yet I'm still having trouble. That one only correlates to a specific item, so it's going in the A tier. Then we got a temporary version in the mystery pile. But where? Geez, is it not there? Here we go. Got it. Next is increased attack power due to poisoning or rot in vicinity. And this one is... There are two sources. One is a specific item that looks like that. The other is not. So I'll throw it in B. Next is increased attack power due to blood loss in vicinity. That one's a little more specific. I mean, poisoning or rot, it's pretty similar, those two. But this one, probably going to go in B for the same reason as the last one. So there you go. Both of those last 20 seconds. Just FYI. We got recovered HP upon defeating enemies, which I will find any second now. Boom. It's going to go B. Same reason, because it aligns with a few different things. Let's see. There's a temporary variant, and it's going in the mystery pile. Boom. Next is recovered FP upon defeating enemies. That one, I mean, it's blue. So that does indicate FP to a degree. But aside from that, not super clear. So. And we got another one for the mystery pile. So next is silenced movement. That one's that's a pretty fucking good one, I'd say. Picture of a foot. It almost, you could almost interpret it as making more noise, but then that wouldn't make any sense. So it's pretty indicative of what you're getting there. Next we have temporary concealment of the user, which that one I think, is that obvious? Hold on, let me double check here. Got unseen form, Ash of War. I feel like there's an item that does that. I'm not finding any evidence of it though. So for now, I'm putting it in D because that doesn't really, not terribly obvious to me. There is not a permanent form of that as far as I can tell. Unless this one. Hold on. I actually need to scroll down. There's like, on the Fextra Life page, there's a bit of a sort of work in progress section, and I think this is down there. Yes, so that uses the concealing veil. So that would go, I guess that would go in A, and I would leave this one sort of down here. So, I mean, it's a temp one, but it's a bit of a weird situation. This is one of the ones that doesn't have a background, and if I recall correctly, I did double check that, and it is actually a transparent background image, weirdly enough. Anyhow, moving on to the cat talisman. Or whatever the heck they call it in this game. That's going in A purely based on the previous game knowledge from, Dark Souls 2, and I think 3 had it. So, if you have played several of these games, then that one should be pretty obvious. Renders users immune to fall damage, although that's not exactly accurate or totally helpful. What it does is it prevents you from taking fall damage. However, if you fall far enough that it would take more health than you have and kill you, it would not save you from that. So there's a better, not a better explanation, but a more thorough one. The next one is constantly attracting enemy attention. Don't know why in God's name you would use this. There probably is a good reason, but I'm not that strategic. So I think I'm going to throw this in B because there is a talisman that sort of has this look. There might be a couple of other items that do as well. I can't quite remember, but it's pretty indicative, I'd say. Next, we have increased damage taken. Yeah, this one's for sadists, I guess. And I guess this would go basically in the same space with that one. And then we have, the icon correlated to the sacrificial twig, preventing rune loss on death. Whoopsie. So this would probably go in A because it's just from the sacrificial twig, which looks exactly like that. Boom, bam. Moving on. Next, we have a very specific concoction icon. This negates the curse effect of Moog, and it's caused by the purifying crystal tear in the mixed physic flask. So, I mean, I guess it'd be pretty obvious, like if you're trying to get that effect going, which you actively have to do, it should be pretty obvious what this is. So, It's going in A. Next, we have reducing item FP consumption. And this one is a mystery. Boom. And there is a pattern. The reduced FP consumption is always indicated by this teardrop. So, like, over time, you could glean that. But again, just on site, it's not terribly obvious. The temporary variant, that's the cerulean hidden tier that does that. So, yeah, it's going to be like a D. To me, that icon says you got a bag full of water. Not terribly helpful. Next, we have increasing messages shown by other players. This looks like a warming stone to me, although I guess the script stone does look like that. You know what? I'll throw it in A. Correlates to the script stone. I've just never used the script stone. Okay, we have finished the first largest chunk. And now we're moving on to multiplayer items. The first of which correlates to the furrow calling finger remedy. Rolls right off the tongue. Hey, it looks exactly like the item. You should know what it is. Next, we have one that indicates co-op downscaling. So if you're going into co-op with your friend, oopsie doopsie, going into co-op with your friend, and they're way lower level than you and you're using a password, say, if your level gets scaled down, then you'll get that icon. That's probably like a C. You know, you could probably suss out what it means, but it's not apparent on its face. And we got the variant for adversary downscaling. Similar situation, except you're scaling down for an adversary rather than a co-op partner. Then we got multiplayer password set. That's what that means. If you have a password set for multiplayer, boom, that shows up. That said, again, that's not super clear on its face that's what that means. Then we have one that indicates that you're using a bloody finger, essentially. So you're attempting invasion of another player's world. That gets across a bloody finger pretty well, I'd say. Then we have one for sending your cooperative sign to a summoning pool. So again, that's one where you have to actively be doing something to achieve that effect, and it looks like a summoning pool. That's going to go in the A tier. And then we've got the hostile version of that, and it's red. So again, pretty clear what's going on there. Next one is basically the Taunter's Tongue icon, which requires you to use the Taunter's Tongue, which looks exactly like that. A tier. And if you don't know, that allows invasions with no allies present, and it provokes more frequent invasions and allows multiple invaders at once, so on and so forth. Next, we have the one that is triggered by the blue cipher ring, which responds to the white cipher ring, which we will get to in a second. But basically, if somebody is asking for help with an invasion, this will pop up. And that should be fairly obvious. You have to have the blue cipher ring on for it to appear. Bob's your uncle. There you go. Now here's where it gets a little weird. This is sort of a mystery, this little white cipher ring one, because when you are ready to be received by someone else, when you're on call, basically, this one will appear with the transparent background. And I have tested this. So this will appear under your health bar, and then when you get summoned, I would think this... Oh, sorry. I'm totally mixing this shit up. This is for when you're requesting aid. So when you're looking for help, this appears. And then when you're actually invaded and you're actively calling out for help, it seems like this would be the one that would appear, but it remains as this one with the transparent background. So this is not really used, it seems. Little weird, but there you go. Couple more multiplayer items, which are pretty similar to one another. We got this guy, which has you take on the appearance of a host of fingers. Normally, when you get like summoned in, you have a white aura, or if you're like invading, you have a red aura. There's a few other ones, but this basically just gets rid of that, and I think it changes your title as well to say that you are a host in multiplayer. That one's probably a B. Not super apparent what's going on just based on the icon. Although it does correlate to an item, so boom, it's going in A. Along with the host strict mirror, which has you take on the appearance of a cooperator specifically. I'm guessing that would give you a white aura and change your title to cooperator, perhaps? Haven't messed with that too much, or at all. This, so the rest is kind of the sort of in progress section on the Fextra Life page. Some of it is more obvious than others. Whoopsie. I'm using a mouse with a very sensitive scroll wheel. So, Stake of America. This is one of my favorite icons to see, and it's also very obvious what it's correlating to. There's a Stake of America nearby. If you die, you'll have the option to spawn there. And that's something that you should always keep an eye out for, because there's no other real indication that you have passed by one other than if you see it or if that appears under your health bar. So keep an eye out. Next, we have a couple of sort of confusing ones. We have cannot fast travel, which is only sort of obvious. There's a map and a grace, and then an X. And then we also have this one. The only difference being the sort of shaded background there. So the difference here is that this one means you can't fast travel at all until, you go outside if you're indoors, or maybe you're doing multiplayer or something. Being invaded or doing co-op or something, so you can't fast travel. This one indicates that you can't fast travel until you rest at a site of grace. And seeing them side by side, you can tell the difference. But if you just have one of them on your screen under your health bar, like you wouldn't know that there were two of them, essentially. So yeah, probably could have scrapped one of those, but whatever. And then again, we have this. This is in that section, and I already explained earlier. I think I explained earlier that this one is used, among other things, with the Crimson Bubble tier. Either it slowly regenerates HP, or it restores HP when near death in mixed physic. Which I guess for the second one, which is what I use it for most, it makes sense to have a different icon for that. It's basically like second chance, or whatever you want to call it, Tears of Denial. But there you go. There's that. Probably going to go down here with the other ones. Again, I don't know what the hell that icon is, but there's that. What else do we got? We got increased stamina recovery speed. And this correlates to Braggart's Roar. And I guess I'm going to stick this in C along with that one there. We have Increased attack with a transparent background. This could also be providing a holy affinity on your weapon or reinforcing weapon with rocks. So that's actually a little bit confusing, especially since we have this one with the square background. Not entirely, clear on its face what is different about the two of those. Why this one has a background and this one doesn't. It's a little wonky. We got another one that increases spell attack power with a transparent background. I actually didn't even include that one. It's associated only with the spell Terra Magica. So again, kind of weird that one's separate. We got another one of these. Oops, excuse me. Another one of these, transparent background. Again, not really terribly clear. I guess the secondary effect of the transparent background one is that it converts damage received into HP. Well, it's certain kinds of damage with the Crimson World bubble tier. But again, kind of confusing to have those two different versions. We've got this one, transparent background, that occurs during the Rune Weather event, which is when you see sort of yellow leaves drifting down from the sky, presumably from the air tree. That means that you get more runes from defeated enemies. Also happens when members of a mutual multiplayer group, with the same password, defeat a shard bearer or become a lord. So there you go. That will increase your runes obtained in those scenarios. We've already done the one with the concealing veil connection. We got, what else do we got? We're getting to the end here. I guess that's actually it. Everything else is just like temporary variants of what came before. So there you go. I have ranked and explained all of the sort of known icons and their status effects, at least in terms of what's on the Fextra Life page. Again, if there are any of these down in the mystery section that what causes them, what item they're attached to, that kind of thing, tell the world. Tell me. Just tell someone. This is an important mystery that needs solving. But, honestly, there are more things in the A row than I expected. Again, a lot of them correlate to specific items. But there, that's one section of 4. It's probably like 50-50 of stuff that's fairly obvious for various reasons, and then the rest, not as much to varying degrees. So, yeah, not as bad as I once thought. But hey, thanks for watching this Elden Ring tier list video. I have other videos that you can watch, like this one. That one's actually really good. So, I would watch it like right now if I were you. So no pressure. It is right there though.